incarcerated by telephone.
Debbie Lynn Randall's father still has every newspaper article written about her disappearance.
Clues still lacking in Deborah's slaying.
He even has the front page picture of his little girl's body being carried out of the woods. She was only 9 years old.
But it tears you up. Literally tears you up. I'm sorry. But it's just like taking a big chunk out of your body.
John Randall fears he will die without ever knowing who took that chunk. Debbie Lynn's mother died of leukemia last month. This is where Debbie Lynn was last seen alive. Today, it's a bus terminal. But we hired a graphic artist to help us understand what it looked like on January 13th, 1972. At that time, Debbie Lynn's family lived in an apartment complex on one side of the street, and the laundromat where she was abducted sat on the other.
I think it was like 57 feet from her front door to the laundromat.
The 57 feet was all Debbie Lynn's kidnapper needed. Her mother found the box of soap she tried to bring home scattered on the ground. Detective Morris Nix was a teen when it happened.
I remember vividly. I came in the house, it was on the news. People were afraid, they were angry, and it was frightening.
Debbie Lynn loved dolls, and since this is her story, that is how we portray her.
I don't know that I'll ever look at a Barbie doll again that I don't think about her.
Nix is a man in a dark 1950s pickup truck grabbed Debbie Lynn and forced her into it. There was an eyewitness.
I know she was kicking and screaming.
Sandra Walker was 12 years old at the time. She didn't want to talk on camera, but says she remembers almost getting run over by the man as he sped away. And she says she can still feel his eyes looking back at her through the rearview mirror.
Her brother was at the store handing out flyers, if you had seen her, that she had come up missing. And that's when I put two and two together.
And she still carries the heartache of what happened that day.
I've had people say that you've got to let it go, and I can't. I mean, that little girl didn't deserve any. She deserved to have a life.
Debbie Lynn was found 16 days later during a mass search of the woods. It was cold and rainy.
She was abducted in one area, attacked in another area, redressed, and then her body was taken to even another area on Johnson Ferry Road.
Police say Debbie Lynn had been found raped and suffocated. The killer likely using her own coat to muffle her screams. Nick still visits her grave.
Whoever was involved in this is a psychopath. When Debbie took her last breath, she was looking into the face of a monster.
When Nix volunteered for the Cobb County Cold Case Unit, he asked to work on Debbie Lynn's case. He's determined to do what police 46 years ago could not: find her killer.
I still think that it's possible to solve this case.
Marietta police had preserved the evidence well, and for the first time, investigators have a DNA profile. The suspect, a white male.
I owe you more. Thank you, Abby.
Debbie Lynn's father has no words for the man that killed his daughter, but overflows with emotion, knowing she has not been forgotten.
I loved her. I'll always love her.
He is the happiest kid. Like, always had Hot Wheels, always making people laugh, like goofing around, doing silly faces. He was at that fun age where he was like starting to do more, and we had taught him how to pedal on his little trike. Mama. He never called me mom, he never called me mommy or mom, you know, nothing like that. It was always mama. I was with him every second of the day, and that kid was my best friend. I would have given anything to be, you know, in his place, or for this whole situation not to happen, and I hold myself responsible.
What's the address of your emergency?
My 2-year-old son, we can't find him. We were camping at, and we can't find him at all.
I did not get an attorney because I'm a guilty man. I got an attorney because I'm tired of being accused of something I would never do.
Feel a little bit bad about it. Wish it hadn't happened, but you better shut up before I get in trouble here.
Some people are always going to be pointing a finger at each other. That's always going to probably be that way until this case is solved.
Little man's gone. He's missing. We can't find him.
It's a mystery. What happened to Dior Koontz? We're a group of journalists based in Atlanta, but to tell the full story, we had to go where everything happened. Timber Creek Campground, that's in Idaho.
We bounced around the state: Boise, Idaho Falls, Leadore, Salmon National Forest, campsite, of course. You would read about this in People magazine and see it in the news clips. You'd see it online. A lot of people would talk about it. It had been 2 years since Dior first went missing, and to go there, then actually meet the people that you read about, it really put it into perspective.
This story is volatile. What happened is shocking, and the theories are controversial, and everyone involved comes with some sort of conflict toward someone else.
We needed to hear from everyone to get the full picture. It's an investigation, and so you have to approach people in a certain way with certain timing to pull it off.
There's something very odd about researching somebody for months, watching every single interview they did, reading every article, and then going to meet them in the flesh. Guilty looks very similar to grief. And all of a sudden, I left Idaho more confused than when I came.
We didn't feel welcome. We were afraid we were going to be asked to leave and the entire story would fall apart.
It was a good reminder that they are just human, and we need to remember that when we're watching them and trying to figure out what we think could have happened.
Kids wander off. I think that's what's so relatable to this story, is you realize it could happen anywhere. It could have just as easily happened in Georgia.
The campground where baby Dior disappeared is beautiful.
Clean water, clean air, no pollution. The setting is definitely part of the story. You have to respect nature, solely because nature is beautiful but also dangerous. You can find yourself in a hailstorm, or you can find yourself in a lightning storm.
We didn't realize how far away from everything we were until we launched the drone and saw the area from above. It was miles and miles of sagebrush, dirt road, and vast emptiness, wide open spaces. This series reminds you that bad, terrible things do happen. The story's in the middle. Life happens in the middle. And for everyone who loved this little boy, they're stuck in the middle until this case is closed.
I want people to see that justice was done and that it can be corrected. It just has to be in the right hands. People need to hear the story.
The truth.
We'll find it as we investigate deep into the past.
We're digital journalists. We investigate stories together.
This time, we're looking into a past crime, while Sonny Bradia's legal team prepares for his uncertain future.
With a last-ditch court motion to clear his name.
Sonny was found guilty, life in prison, after a sex assault in South Georgia. But new DNA evidence connects someone else to the crime, the man who testified against him.
Sonny's lawyers are fighting to have that evidence heard in court for the first time with a Hail Mary motion called habeas corpus.
This is the last real opportunity to do anything about a wrongful conviction.
Through Sonny's writings, we're able to get a glimpse into his thoughts. He writes, "At times I feel as if I'm at a breaking point. My heart won't let me rest. I'm surrounded by wolves 24/7. I worry about my mom constantly. I just hope and pray that this chapter of my life is over soon.
We began this investigation after Sonny Baradia had already been behind bars for 15 years for a sex assault that he claims he didn't commit.
With the years quickly ticking upwards, we were determined to get more answers.
Over the years, several attorneys have worked to help Sonny with his case, and at least 3 of them have told us they believe he's innocent.
I know that Sonny is innocent. I believe that with all of my heart.
I do believe he's innocent. As importantly, from a legal perspective, I believe he was wrongfully convicted.
I'm sorry. He should not have been convicted. He didn't do it. I'd admit any fault and a few more if it will help him get out of prison.
But an admission of fault from Sonny's original attorney is not enough for a new trial.
This is the scene today. Police wouldn't give us the dash camera video until this year because technically the case was still open. But now we can look back 2 years through a window in time to what police say was the critical moment. First, the officer says, "Come here." Play. "Come here right now." Fast forward. Then the officer says, "Get down on the ground." Play. "Get on the ground." But the officer doesn't say, "Get down on the ground on your stomach with your hands out." So the teen instead decides to sit on this curb behind a bush. Then he puts his hands up. But police say putting his hands up and hands down behind the bush constituted furtive movements that triggered the dog to deploy not only on his own without a command from his handler, play, but also against the commands of his handler. Fast forward. What follows are 18 commands of off, yet the dog continues to attack. Then right here, the leash breaks and the dog goes back and grabs his hand and holds him now for another 8 seconds. 2 attacks, no commands to apprehend, ignoring all commands to stop. The dog nearly biting his own handler in the end.
There's a place online where secrets are traded.
Anon-IB is an internet forum where anonymous users share nude photos and videos of people without their consent. It's what's commonly referred to as revenge porn, and it includes stolen or hacked photos from victims' phones or their computers or cloud storage accounts like iCloud.
Photos are traded by Anon-IB users. Some of them may upload illicit photos of an ex or even strangers. So who's trading? Mostly men.
These are regular people that are at work. They're husbands and fathers and brothers. They're not incredible monsters, but they're definitely capable of doing monstrous types of things.
Photos traded on Anon-IB are stored on a computer system that's overseas, out of reach of local authorities.
What most represents the Bahamas?
The conch salad.
What's a conch?
Conch is a mussel. A lot of people say it's similar to calamari, but conch is more tender.
How does the conch salad represent the Bahamas?
Okay, 1 second. Could I talk about how it's an aphrodisiac? I can't sit on the music.
What?
It's also an aphrodisiac. Better for mommy and sweeter for daddy. That's what the Bahamians say.
What's that? How does the conch salad represent Atlanta?
We have a lot of Bahamian, a lot of natives that have come here. We brought a taste of the island here through our food. It's just our nature. Bahamians, we're very hospitable.
And hospitality, of course, very southern.
Yes, very much.
Tell me what we have here.
Margherita pizza. It's the pizza represent Naples. Originally, When a margarita was made, it was made for necessity. People used to work the entire day to buy a slice at night. Buffalo mozzarella. Now we put buffalo mozzarella, some Marzano sauce. We are going to spin around. And that's why I'm proud to say like Neapolitan really invented the fast food.
How does margarita pizza to you represent Atlanta?
I eat margarita every day. It's my favorite food.
You eat it every day?
Every day. I had one before you came in, and I'm having probably another one tonight. Me and you. It's the fourth most sold pizza in America. Beautiful margarita. So put Atlanta on the map by value. I'm proud that people accepted this pizza in the best way.
A city once defined as the cradle of the civil rights movement now has a new identity. Hollywood has come south.
Rolling.
Who's Zombie Boy? Me.
And tonight, homegrown shows like Atlanta, Stranger Things, and Ozark are all up for Emmy nominations.
Robin season. Everybody gotta eat.
We could tell them the truth.
Well, you know that we can't do that.
Will they bring the Emmy back to Atlanta?
16 Emmys is a lot to get nominated for.
How much of a financial impact is the TV and film industry having on the Metro? For exclusive coverage, the 11Alive's A Scene is reporting from the red carpet tonight in Los Angeles.
From the East Coast to the West Coast, tonight Atlanta is making its mark on the 70th Primetime Emmys. Hello and welcome. I'm Francesca Amaker, reporting to you from Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles. Now, for the next 30 minutes, we are setting the table on the A Scene. We are getting into the top productions that have been filmed in Georgia that are now nominated right here on the carpet. But first, I really want to show you all what we've been looking at, the glitz and the glamour. We are seeing some of the top stars. I actually just did an interview with Gaten Matarazzo from Stranger Things. Trevor Noah just walked past us. Milo from This Is Us. Yes, we just saw him. It is getting real here and we are having a lot of fun. But first, we begin with a look at the top productions now nominated for Emmys that were filmed in Georgia.
Atlanta-based productions are no stranger to the Primetime Emmys, but this year the A Scene uncovers the big event like no other. And if you didn't know about the hottest local shows nominated for the prestigious Golden Statue, here it is.
Now there is so much talent and the production options seem to be limitless in Atlanta. So why are so many people flocking to the Metro to get their films and their shows done? Well, our very own Naima Abdullahi set out to find why everyone's vying for the peach state.
Here is why Atlanta is the southern hub of the film industry, with more than 455 film and television projects in the state of Georgia this fiscal year, and many of them heavily concentrated in Metro Atlanta. The Motion Picture Association of America says all the opportunities have brought in about 92,000 jobs. As you can imagine, so many production companies are based here in the state of Georgia, making Georgia the third largest destination for the film industry, right behind LA and New York. Well, that's for now. Why the growth? Many reasons, according to the Georgia Department of Economic Development. Georgia's tax incentive, the climate here, diverse locations, plenty of infrastructure, lots of crews, access, and a great quality of life.
11Alive is now diving deep into two of Atlanta's most notorious cold cases. In 1965, maybe the most famous case in the history of the city. 11Alive investigative journalist Jessica Knowles spent the past year unraveling their bizarre and disturbing connections. And starting tonight, you can follow along on this journey with 11Alive's first podcast, 5 Roses.
Convicted cop killer Gerald Mason died in prison in 2017. But before that, he was named in a 1960s jailhouse confession about Mary Shotwell Little's murder. There's one big problem. The admitted accomplice, the confession's author, Larry Stargell, also died in prison. 2 convicted murderers. Both dead. Still, no justice for Mary.
Our investigations of the Roswell Police Department have reverberated across the nation and around the globe. We broke the stories of a driver arrested for speeding on the flip of a coin, a police dog attacking a young suspect, and a 13-year-old boy who was intentionally left in the cold.
Getting cold yet? Because I've got heat in this car.
To extract a confession, all in Roswell. Tonight, there's more body camera footage with intentionally muted microphones and hidden documents, all showing a police department that treats its officers far different than the citizens they're sworn to protect. A Roswell police officer pulls over a speeding car before discovering the driver is a buddy from the same department.
Hey, it's Ramona.
Hey, man.
Hey, sorry, man.
What are you doing?
I just hit it for a second.
Officer Danny Ramuna was stopped for speeding and reckless driving.
I just hit it for a second. I'm sorry.
You know what kind of position you put me in?
No, I'm sorry.
Because I can tell you've been drinking, man.
I only had a drink. I'm sorry.
You only had a drink?
That's it.
Put your feet together.
I'm not doing any field sobriety.
That's fair.
So, that's what it is.
Okay, that's perfectly fair. You know, that's you're right to do that.
Officer Johnny Burnett calls for a supervisor.
He's been drinking.
But when the lieutenant shows up,
Street on right.
It's okay. It's yours.
Okay.
the officer cuts the mic on his body camera.
Where's the sound?
It's gone.
Why would they do that?
Because they're going to let him go.
Stay in the car.
Sarah Webb knows what it's like to be pulled over by Roswell police for speeding and reckless driving.
Turn off the car and pass me the keys, please.
2 officers arrested her on the flip of a coin.
A head, R tail. Okay. Step out of the vehicle. Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
Take a look at the 2 stops side by side.
Stay in the car.
Sorry, my window doesn't hold.
Off to Brown Roswell Police Department. You know how fast you were just going, ma'am?
I'm so sorry, I'm late for work.
Hey, it's Ramona.
Hey, man.
Hey, sorry, man.
Turn off the car and pass me the keys, please.
You know as well as I do, with no tests and the only evidence is some bloodshot, watery eyes, but you're crying about your sister, it wouldn't look good in court anyways. So there's no way that this would be useful at all. It wouldn't help you. It wouldn't keep anybody safe on the road. I mean, you're already hung. But you have got to talk to somebody, man.
Were you given any benefit of the doubt like that officer was?
No.
Did they ask you what was going on in your life?
No.
There is a battle in states all over the country over paper. 5 states are facing federal lawsuits and protests because people want to go back to the paper ballots. Georgia's one of them. A move to replace Georgia's electronic voting machines with paper ballots for the midterms failed when a federal judge shot down the injunction. But this isn't where the fight ends. The judge says she's rejecting the move for now, but Georgia lawmakers have to take a look at changing the voting machine because the bottom line is they are vulnerable. Once you cast your ballot, there's no paper trail of how you voted. Think of it like going to the store and not getting a receipt after you cash out. There's no proof of what you bought, and the machines can be hacked. A Michigan professor successfully hacked into the kind of machine Georgia uses in court just using a memory card. And the same issue is coming up in other states.
I can really brag on my wife all day long. We're talking about a woman that spoke 5 languages, that raced cars, that was so compassionate, so loving. We would always kind of joke that our life is like a movie.
Oh, there's a fish. You don't see the fish around y'all? Look. That's a nice dress. But I like that one.
You got me this?
Mm-hmm.
Baby, this dress is gorgeous.
Baby. So, Mommy, where you at?
Beautiful Palm Springs. Daddy surprised me and my little munchkin mash. I love you.
For Kira and I, we always wanted back-to-back boys. When we found out that we were welcoming another boy, we were just, ecstatic. Kira was exceptionally healthy. Every single prenatal visit that we went to, she got great reports. The baby was healthy.
Hey, Daddy.
Hey, Winston.
Hey,
5 minutes.
Just stroll. All right, let's go, guys. All right, sweetheart.
Ready to go? You want to walk, okay?
Hey, Langston. I've been waiting on you, buddy. Everybody's here to celebrate.
I really don't know that there's any other emotion or experience that you can compare to that, right? Being in the delivery room when your son is born with your wife and, you know, welcoming him into the world. It was an amazing, amazing feeling. Shortly after Langston was born, they took us back to recovery. Kira's sitting there, and I first noticed that there was blood in the catheter at her bedside, and that was the first sign that I realized that something wasn't quite right. I brought it to the attention of the nurses and the doctors. They ordered a CT scan that was supposed to be performed stat, right? And so stat, in my mind, I'm thinking that means immediately. She's beginning to tremble uncontrollably. She's beginning to shake. She's beginning to be in increasingly more pain. There's still no CT scan. The doctor's walking next to the bed, and he says to me, I'm gonna fix it, and she'll be back in 15 minutes. She'll be back in 15 minutes. And that was the last time I saw Kira alive. They told me that there was nothing they could do to save her, that she was gone. A wife that wasn't just in good health, but was in exceptional health. And not walking out is something that I never conceived, and even 2 years later, I still can't make sense of it in my mind.
Who's the best big brother? Where's Langston? Show me Langston. Where's your baby brother Langston? All right. Say I love you. Blow a kiss.
It's this beautiful baby. Thank God he's born perfectly healthy. We were just like, oh, yeah, hey, you know, celebrate. This is my, you know, second go round. You know, I've had an 18-month-old born before, and so I had this grandma thing down. You know, I got this. This is cool. We're all celebrating, and then less than 12 hours, she's dead. They said, oh, had we gotten her back into the operating room, she would be perfectly fine. Oh, if we had. Well, why the hell didn't they? It was not that she was sick, it's not that she had a pre-existing condition, that she had a heart problem or she had a blood clot. None of that was Kira's case.
We walked in for what we expected to be the happiest day of our life, and we walked straight into a nightmare.
Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes. You know, that's just a fact. So it's wrong that that exists. You know, some people hear those statistics and they'll say, well, there's something wrong with Black women. It must be some gene that Black people carry that causes it. Why is it that Black women are more likely to die from complications than white women? We don't really treat people equally, and we need to deal with that.